Appreciate everybody coming out. Good to be here again today. We finished up our preseason camp last Saturday night with the scrimmage. Really proud of the way our guys worked all of August throughout the month or through preseason camp. We wanted it to be physical, mentally, physical, toughness, all that stuff. Wanted the entire preseason to be physical, which it was, and really proud of the way that our guys attacked it and got better. I thought they showed a lot of physical toughness, showed a lot of mental toughness with the way they were able to battle through a lot of things in the month of August. And knock on wood, for the most part, injury-wise, we were fantastic, especially compared to previous seasons. And credit Luke Day and his program, and Clint Haggard in the training room, and then credit our players for being able to battle through bumps and bruises and stay healthy for the most part. We finished up everything with a scrimmage on Saturday night. Went about 75 plays in the stadium, a little bit less. I think the week before we were 92. Got 75 plays in, and was one of the better second scrimmages I've ever been around. Very clean, very efficient. We had SEC officials here. We had told them to enforce it just like a game, play clock, all that. We had zero, delay a game penalties. Probably just jinx myself for next week, but we had zero delay of game penalties. I thought they handled that really well. Had a weather delay, had lightning. We had to leave the field for about 45 minutes. That was great practice for us. If we ever get that during a season, we were able to go into the locker room, treat it like a normal weather delay, treat it like kind of a halftime in a lot of ways. So it was great practice for the coaches, how we would handle that. Great practice for the players. There wasn't a lot of goofing off and BSing in the locker room. There was great focus, and then they came right back out and had about another 55, 60 plays to finish up the scrimmage after the weather delay. It was fantastic. Really proud of them, and came out of it healthy, for the most part as well. That was good. We gave them off Sunday, just met on Sunday. We didn't do anything physically. Yesterday was their mandatory day off required by the NCAA, so they've had 2 days off physically before we got back out on the practice field today. Sunday was just meetings, reviewing the scrimmage, and then kind of getting ready for this week. This week for us is a mock game week, so to speak. So we're going through everything just like we will next week when we do it for real against Eastern Illinois. So we had our normal meetings on Sunday. We'll take Monday off during the season, or the players will, obviously. That's their day off. And then we came in today with meeting times, just like they'll be on a Tuesday during season. Practice schedule is identical to what it'll be on a Tuesday during the season. And then we'll do the same thing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, up until Saturday. Saturday will be more of a, we're not scrimmaging, but it'll just be a situational type practice where we're going to go through every possible scenario you can envision happening in a football game, make sure we cover it, and in the stadium on Saturday night, go through pregame warm-up routines, all that stuff. Because, we are the one sport in all of the world that doesn't get a preseason game or a scrimmage or an exhibition. Some of you guys that covered me know I went off on this rant back when I was an assistant coach before here, out on the old Proving Grounds practice field, and I still feel the same way 10, 11, 12 years later. It makes too much sense to not be able to go scrimmage another team before we play, to have an exhibition game against another team, because every other sport gets to do it. High school, pro, college, every sport. I'm not complaining. It is what it is, but it's tough because the first time we do it, it's for real. So that's why we're doing a mock game week this week, for the coaches to be able to work out any kinks, to make sure the schedule that we go through daily flows the way that we need it to flow, to make sure we're able to get them out of here at noon and to class on time. For the players, so they understand what a Tuesday practice is going to be like, what a Wednesday practice is going to be like, Thursday, Friday, and so on. So it's not new next week when we do it. So proud of the way our guys have handled it so far, and then can't wait for next week. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do as a team before next Saturday night, but cannot wait to get into Williams-Brice Stadium, packed Williams-Brice Stadium, for all of our fans to be able to come back together after everything that everyone has been through for the last year. I can't wait to see the cockpit down there in the end zone in the student section. Had a blast talking to our student body on the horseshoe last week, and fired up for what they're going to bring to our environment next Saturday night, and can't wait for that thing to be rocking and cranked up on Saturday night, and eager to continue to finish up this week as a team and get into next week. So with that, be glad to take any questions.
Hey Shane, have you named a starting quarterback?
We have not, David. That didn't take you long. No, we haven't. Couple things on that. Luke just got his cast off on Sunday. So, I mean, I don't think we're not going to name a quarterback until we see what his situation is. He got his cast off on Sunday. He's in a boot right now. I talked to him before practice. He's able to take the boot off and move around a little bit, but when he's out on the field, he's got the boot on. Feels good. We'll keep progressing him along and see where he is. So that's one situation we're still working through. With the other guys that are competing, I mean, frankly, Zeb had a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice last week and a scrimmage, so he's really only been playing quarterback for obviously a week. So give him today, tomorrow, Thursday will be critical practices, and then I think we'll have a better idea how that thing's going to shake out here towards the end of the week once we get through these next few practices with our current quarterbacks, and then once we see what Luke's situation is also.
I was about to say, do you have a drop-dead date that you know that we got to have a guy by this time?
I mean, you'd love to go into next week where everybody knows who the quarterback is, where we can rally around that guy and he starts getting those reps with the first group and things like that as well. But, I mean, all those guys, Luke before he got injured, Jason, Zeb now, I mean, they've all gotten plenty of work with that first group, with that second group, and whoever it is. I mean, we've got confidence whoever takes the first snap out there next Saturday night to go perform and lead us. So from that standpoint, yes, sooner the better, but at the same time, all those guys are ready to play, whoever it is.
Shane, how have you seen just Zeb being able to step into a situation, a guy that maybe a couple months ago, as he alluded to before after Sam Houston, didn't think he was going to probably play football ever again. How quickly has he been able to pick things up, and how impressive has he looked so far for a guy based in the situation that he's in?
Yeah, I think he's been fantastic. I really do. He's a coach's son, so he's been around the game. I've known, his dad and his family for a long time. He was a guy that I can remember when we were trying to, I don't want to say recruit, when we were talking to him about becoming a graduate assistant here. I remember the very first time that Coach Satterfield talked to Zeb on the phone. Sat came to me, he's like, that guy might be the smartest quarterback I've ever talked to in my entire life. He's so brilliant, some of the things that this is when he was at North Dakota State, and it was kind of an interview, so to speak, to make sure that Sat felt good about him, and Sat was like, golly, I mean, he would help us right now as an offensive staff, just his knowledge of pass protections and route concepts and all that stuff. So it's no surprise from a mental standpoint that he's been able to pick stuff up. I mean, he was in our staff meetings a week and a half ago in the offensive coaching meetings. I think the biggest thing that's a testament to Zeb and what kind of leader he is the way that he's been able to get the players to rally around him as well. And before I told the team what we were doing, I met with some of the defensive players in my office privately, and then I met with some of the offensive guys, and we talked about it, and they were great because they know what Zeb is. And, he's an easy guy to like. He's an easy guy to rally around. He told me this. I hope it's accurate. I don't think he lied to me. I guess he was a captain at North Dakota State when he was the backup quarterback, which you don't hear a lot of. I mean, that's pretty dang impressive for your teammates to feel that way about you. And then at the same time, he's been, he was living the coach's life where the workouts and all that stuff ain't quite what our guys were doing before he started playing. So to go from that to right out there on the field, I mean, there's going to be some rust and things like that for sure, and you certainly see it. But the arm talent, the knowledge, being able to get us in the right protection, get the ball to the right person, that's been very impressive and will only continue to get better, along with what Jason Brown has done. Jason Brown had the best week of practice he's had as a Gamecock last week. I mean, Zeb being out there has really pushed Jason, and I would say the same about Colton as well. Both those guys had really, really, really good weeks as well out there on the practice field. So I'm pleased with where we are from a quarterback position right now and continuing to get better like all the positions.
Okay, I have two questions. My first question is about Juju McDowell. I want to know what capacity are you expecting to play him at right now, and then I'll do my second one after that one.
What capacity?
Like, what capacity are you expecting to play him this season? With all we've heard a lot about him. So, what do you see him contributing?
Is a lot a good answer?
It's a great answer.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, he's going to play a lot from a capacity standpoint. he may end up being our kick returner. He's certainly going to be in there a lot on offense. He's explosive. I saw you did the tandem with the Marshawn and Juju up here together. I saw some of their coach before I came in and about how explosive he is, and he is. He's smart. He's tough. He's still a freshman. Don't get me wrong, but he's got a huge upside. He's explosive, and he can be a weapon in the passing game as well. He's got great hands, really good ball skills. So we're excited about him.
Okay, and then with injuries, did anyone get hurt at the scrimmage this past Saturday? And then I have a list of people that I just wanted to ask about, like Kevin Harris, Trey Atkins, Rick Sandage, Cam Smith. Just where are all those guys?
Yep, I'm sorry. I should have run through that before we started. No one got hurt in the scrimmage that would be long-term, that we don't expect anything to keep them out next Saturday. We talked about Luke. E.J. Jenkins is back out practicing. He was out there today, in a helmet and rolling. Kevin Harris is getting closer and closer. We're optimistic about him being able to play next week. Darrell Ware's out right now. We're optimistic about him. Cam Smith is still out, but he has a chance to potentially play next week. And then, like I told you guys before, Rick Sandage is the one that may be out a little bit longer, but he's not far off.
Trey Atkins?
Trey is still out too. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey, Shane, I want to go back to Zeb for a second. In addition to his experience and his overall knowledge of the game, how much is he being helped that he's coming off a spring season and played pretty recently?
Yeah, great point, Rick. I think that's huge. And that's the first thing I told when I told the team what we were doing. I showed some clips of him playing at Iowa State, going up against Kyler Murray. But then we also I showed some clips of him playing in the spring, that here is Zeb in a playoff game the same time you guys were, I think, playing the Garnet and Black game. I think it was the same weekend that he had a playoff game. So we were practicing against each other. He was playing in a playoff game at the college level. So certainly I think it would be maybe a different story if he had played last fall and then had been sitting around doing nothing since December. We may be having a different conversation right now because I don't know how far along he would be physically. But the fact that it wasn't that long ago that he was playing a game certainly is very helpful and is an advantage to us right now. And we told the team that, and it's true.
Shane, with Kevin, obviously he did what he did last year, but considering he hasn't practiced at all in preseason, is it, kind of not, I don't think panic's the right word, but is it like, okay, maybe now's the time that you want to have an answer of like he's going to be back by this date?
Yeah, I mean, we got a pretty good idea of when he, is going to be ready, and we're optimistic that it's next week. And if he's just not able to go next week and he's not 100%, then we surely expect him to be ready for the following week. He was in full uniform today. He's running around. He's doing everything. It's just, he met again last week with the doctors that did the procedure on him last week, and it was a great response, great feedback, and we're continuing to talk to Kevin and his mom and all the medical personnel, and we're not discouraged or anything with where he is right now. We knew when he had the procedure this summer that it would be right around the first game that he'd be ready to go, and that hasn't changed. He's got a great spirit about himself, and we know he's going to be carrying the football for us a lot this year, and a lot starting in September. And whether that's September 4th or September 11th remains to be seen. But he's not far off at all, and there's no concern or panic or anything from our standpoint. I mean, he's doing a lot of running with our strength staff to stay in shape. And obviously, I'm not naive. He's got to be able to get out there and get some live action in practice and knock the rust off and things like that. But he's doing as much of that as he can without actually practicing full speed right now.
During Zeb's interview process, was there any mention of him playing? Did he say, he still had an itch, or did y'all think he was transitioning?
No, I thought he was transitioning. His dad reached out to me. I talked Zeb. I was still at Oklahoma, and Zeb transferred to North Dakota State. And back when I was at Oklahoma, Zeb reached out, between his dad and Zeb reached out to me to say that he wanted to get into coaching. This was when I was still at Oklahoma. So then when I came to South Carolina, they reached back out. I knew, he's from Athens and knew what he was about, thought he'd be a fantastic graduate assistant. It never came up in my conversations with him. It was, I'm done. I didn't even ask. I didn't even think about COVID years and all that stuff. So he came in here, got rolling, got to work, and then there was one day in, I don't know, it was probably late June, early July, and Sat mentioned, you do know that Zeb has some eligibility left if we need it, and it kind of hit me then, but it wasn't anything that we talked about during the interview process, and it was something that we joked around with him back and forth throughout the month of July, and then obviously it became very real once Luke got hurt. But it wasn't hey, come to South Carolina, start being a GA, and then get ready to play some quarterback too. That wasn't the reason we hired him.
And on quarterback play in general, is there a philosophy? Do you have a philosophy about the position that can be summed up in a couple of sentences or a paragraph in terms of how you tell them you want them to operate the game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot, and when you guys talk to, Coach Sat and Coach White as far as what they want at their positions. But, for me, I think accuracy is critical. You got to have a guy back there. You got to have a great leader. You got to be tough. And then nowadays you got to have great athleticism that you play. Those would be the things that, I'm looking for. But toughness, leadership, athleticism. But I don't care what you have. If you're not accurate, you're going to have a hard time being successful as a quarterback. That's just how I look at it. And then you got to protect the football, and whoever goes out there for the first snap on September 4th is going to be the person that does a lot of well, but they've got to protect the football. And frankly, we've had way too many turnovers in the month of August of not always making great decisions with the football. And they've got all those quarterbacks, Zeb, Colton, Connor, Luke, Jason, the whole crew. They know that they've got to be better from a ball security, making good decisions, and let's just line up and make the defense keep defending us.
Shane, not counting injuries or COVID concerns, what's your single biggest concern about the squad going into the opener right now?
Good question, Gene. Probably, I don't know if it's a concern, but we've got a lot of new faces that have never played, like every program right now. But we've got, starters that, guys that are probably going to start for us at last year at this time were playing at Georgia Military or playing at wherever, Assumption College and different places. No disrespect, Mike. But it's a different deal when you're playing in front of 85,000 people. So I don't think it's any different than any other year. You always have new faces anywhere that I've been, Oklahoma, Georgia, Virginia Tech. For me, as a coach, there's always more anxiety is not the word, but there's always more uncertainty for the first game of the season because you think you have an idea of what your team's about, but that's based off 20-some practices of practicing against yourself and not another opponent until you go out there next Saturday night. So for me, it's just the uncertainty. It's the first time that we're going out there, for real, which our guys are excited and I can't wait. But that's always a game one. That's whether I was at Oklahoma getting ready to play FAU in our first game or Georgia getting ready to play App State or whoever it may be. That's just game ones in my opinion.
Couple of things for you. I'm curious about how this thing with Zeb works as far as coming off of graduate assistant role. Does he get a stipend for being a graduate assistant? Does he have to give that back? Is he going on scholarship? How does all of that process work?
Yeah, it's be honest with you, it's complicated, and thankfully there's a lot of people a lot smarter than me that are figuring all that stuff out. And I'm not trying to dodge the question. It is different. It's not like you just roll right into being student athlete from being a graduate assistant. I've gotten some calls from some other head coaches across the country that were calling and asking me about the specifics of how we did it because they had a couple things they were looking into doing something similar and stuff like that as well. So George Wynn, our director of football operations, and Jeff Whitehead in compliance, and those guys, they've been in constant communication, working that out, and still trying to work through everything from that standpoint. We're fine what we're doing, but there's a lot of T's that got to be crossed and I's that got to be dotted to get him ready to roll.
Gotcha. And kind of the opposite of Gene's question. What are you most confident about going where you stand right now? What are you most sure of in terms of going into the season?
That our guys will go out there next Saturday night and play with unbelievable passion and energy and joy next Saturday night in Williams-Brice Stadium.
Shane, just in our brief interaction here with Zeb, it seems like he's a really mature kid and has handled this well. I mean, just from your side of things, like, how has he handled this whole thing? I mean, it's obviously a lot being thrown at him all at once, and what's kind of gone into that process in terms of him, making that shift?
No, he's been great. Really just mature. He's got such an easy demeanor about him. He's very, as you guys probably saw in here, he's just very cool and collected. And in scrimmages, just like I was during the spring game, like, I stand out there because just to be behind, and I'm in charge of the whistle when they get around the quarterback because we don't let the quarterbacks get hit in practice, and I'm the bad guy that blows the whistle, or the offensive line thought he was sacked, or the defense got him sacked and all that stuff. So I'm the bad guy back there. But just listening to him out there, I mean, even with me, it was kind of like he was just having like an ongoing conversation in the middle of a 75-play scrimmage. He would make a throw and tell me, like, as he got back in the huddle, he'd tell me something that he saw, why he did it, or I should have done this better, or I should have done that better. Talking to the referee. We had a substitution issue where they stopped. The referee blew the whistle, and Zeb turned to the head referee and asked about, can we reset the play clock there? I mean, just stuff like that blows me away. Because he is just so calm and collected, but he's experienced. I mean, he's 24, I think. I think he's younger than one player on our team and the same age as another one, but he's got a maturity about him, and there's not much that can get thrown at him on the field that he hasn't seen either at Iowa State or North Dakota State. And it's a security blanket's not the word, but it's a very calming presence when he's out there on the field, not just with the coaching staff, but with all the guys.
I got two for you. The scrimmage on Saturday, how would you say the coaches did in terms of running the team? Were you up in the box? Was it game-like? And secondly, Eastern Illinois plays on Saturday. What will be y'all's plans for watching that? And do you see that as an advantage for them having a game under their belt before they come here?
Yeah. Coaches-wise on Saturday, I thought it was good. We did it offensively, was exactly like a game. Sat was in the box. We did the communication, calling the play in, and that's why I was excited about the fact that we had no delay of game penalties, and it was very clean and very efficient because we wanted to make sure that we were good to go doing that, and those guys were great. The defense, they tried to do it like a game, but they didn't have all their guys in the box. I think Toria may be in the press box on game days. He was down on the field, but we had headphones on, the sideline communication, getting the plays in and out, offense and defense. We did it just like a game, so I was very pleased from that standpoint. And then, yeah, it's a great advantage. I'm sure Eastern Illinois, there's an old analogy, and I'll use it after the Eastern Illinois game, that you make your most improvement from game 1 to game 2. That's kind of like coach speak. You have to say it, but it's true. My dad said it all those years, but I believe it. You do make your most improvement from game 1 from game 1 to game 2. So from Eastern Illinois' standpoint, I'm sure they feel like that's an advantage. They get a game under their belt. Then they have a week to prepare for us after they've been preparing for us all season, and then come in here. For us, it's an advantage that, and for them to be able to do that, we had to okay it from our standpoint back in the springtime. And we were fine for that, because from our standpoint, we liked the idea of, being able to watch them on tape, actually having already played a game, and any new personnel they have from the spring or from last season, we'll have a chance to see that. Any tweaks they've made over the summer, not that they're going to show everything, but we'll have a general idea about their personnel, that we're not looking at something from last year, we're looking at something from today or yesterday.
Shane, from a mentality and competition standpoint, what has stuck out to you and the offensive staff most about Jaheim Bell at tight end, and how much of a factor is that guy going to be in your offense this year?
Yeah, he's just a fierce competitor. He's worked really hard to improve his run blocking, pass protection, kind of everything part of his game. We talked about it after the spring that he's a playmaker for us, one of the top playmakers on offense, and excited to see what he can do. You know, he's out there battling Nick Muse, and Nick's kind of the unheralded guy that people don't talk about enough, in my opinion. I mean, Nick is fantastic, and I told him that the other day that we're not ever going to take him for granted. I mean, just the more and more you watch him, just talking about Nick, is the way his ability to run routes, release, run game, pass protection. Nick's been fantastic. Jaheim and him are going to be a good complement to each other, but, you know, love Jaheim's toughness and physicality and competitive spirit for sure.
Hey, Shane, the last couple of years, the Gamecocks have had starting wide receivers volunteer to work as punt gunners. How far into it are you as far as determining some of those types of special teams roles at this point?
Very. There's not much volunteering going on. I mean, we're kind of telling them who's doing what. No, we're far. I mean, we've been doing that all preseason, and obviously we kind of got to narrow down a little bit who's doing what, obviously, next week. So we're trying to do that right now. But we've had a group of gunners on the punt team that have been working as gunners back to spring practice. And we've spent a lot of time on special teams in practice and breaking it up into different groups and positions, so to speak, the gunners being one of them. And they've been working since the springtime. Wide receivers are in that. Defensive backs are in that. And got a good group of guys, you know, without a doubt, and at all positions. So that's something we've been training guys and trying to develop guys for special teams roles since the springtime, and now's the time that we're really getting narrowed down and honing in on who are going to be those top guys at those positions. And but to talk about the receivers, I mean, I think I've said it before. We did a special teams player of the day back during spring practice, and of our 15 practices, something like 10 or 11 or 12 of those days, a wide receiver was the special teams player of the day, whether it be Josh Van, DeCarrion Joyner, Jalen Brooks. DeCarrion was our special teams player of the spring, I believe. So those guys have been fantastic from a special teams standpoint.
Hey, Shane, just wanted to clarify something about the quarterback situation. If Luke's injury was not optimistic, that if there wasn't a chance he could be back week one, would y'all have been close to naming a starter? Were there any guys in that competition that were starting to separate themselves? And I guess does Luke's possibility of coming back week one muddy those waters a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we want to see if Luke's going to be available for one. But even if we knew that Luke was going to be out till October, we probably wouldn't have named one yet. I mean, if you name one now, you're basing it off of 4 days of practice for Zeb. And we want to see Jason continue to come along, Colton can continue to come along, Connor, and Zeb as well. You know, so we'll give Zeb last week, and then he's got this week of practice, and then we'll kind of see where we are.
Shane, 2 questions. From a Luke perspective, how much time do you think he'll need once the boot's off and he's back into practice to really ramp up to in-game shape and comfortability in this offense?
I don't think too long. I mean, I kid him. He's moving faster on that scooter than a lot of our guys move without a scooter. I mean, he's buzzing up and down the halls. Like, it's pretty impressive how fast he moves. Like, you see him out there on the practice field. If the quarterbacks are going from one drill to the other, he's with them, and he usually beats the quarterbacks to the next drill, and he's on a scooter. So I don't worry about Luke. He's a fierce competitor, and obviously there's going to be some rust you have to knock off and things like that. But I don't think super long.
You mentioned a lot of turnovers from an offensive perspective. Defensively, is that something you guys enforce or preach, and how much of that can be taught in practice, or does it come up kind of naturally in a game?
You know, that's a great question. We emphasize it a lot, protecting the football offensively, getting the ball out defensively. In our team meetings at the beginning of each day, we talk about the turnovers from the day before, who created them on defense. We throw their pictures up in front of the team and recognize guys when they force fumbles or get interceptions. We work a lot. Some of those periods that you guys have been out to watch practice this preseason, you saw us doing a lot of ball security and turnover drills where we're teaching how to protect the football, doing it against the defense, good on good. So we spent a ton of time working on turnovers. But I think it's a lot of that it goes back to the weight room and the strength and the size and the physicality and the speed that we're trying to develop to knock the ball out defensively, but I think you can be careful. We were at Oklahoma and we hired Alex Grinch as our defensive coordinator, and Alex came in and made a big deal about turnovers, and it seems like forever we couldn't get any turnovers on defense, and it kind of got to be a thing like, are you practicing it too much? Are you talking about it too much? And then all of a sudden they just came in waves. So our credit our defense for forcing a lot of turnovers for one, and then the offense. It's not just the quarterbacks; it's the ball carriers as well. But we've got to do a better job of protecting the football, and they have. In the scrimmage the other night, I think there was in 75 plays there was one interception and there was one fumble, and that's not good from an offensive standpoint. We don't want to have any, but turnovers are going to happen, and it's kind of the balancing act as a head coach. You want to see them defensively, you don't want to see them offensively, but 2 for a 75-play scrimmage is about right.
Last question is
Shane, you mentioned Zeb being a coach's kid. Obviously, you're a coach's kid. Marcus is a coach's kid. I mean, just why does that experience help? Why is it different? Why do you think it's maybe helped Zeb in this situation? And I guess just what is that experience like, I guess?
Yeah, good question. I think it's just you're around the game so much. Be a good question for Mike behind you. I mean, you're around the game so much. You kind of grow up in locker rooms. You're able to talk X's and O's probably at a young age with your dad. You have a pretty good understanding of stuff because you've grown up around the game. And when you leave the high school or wherever, you go home and then your dad's still there and you're probably still talking football at night and things like that. So I think that's just the biggest thing. It's just you're kind of wise beyond your years, if that makes sense. I mean, when I was interviewing for jobs or interviewed for this job, I mean, I talked about, this is my 20 whatever year in coaching, but I feel like I've been around coaching for 40 some years, which I have been. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just the experience from that, without a doubt. And then, John, I've got the terrible news that you were transitioning out of the profession, so just wanted to congratulate you and thank you for all your work over the years covering Carolina football, and wish you well going forward, my man, too. Yep, you got it. I was worried about some crate questions, so I brought my wife in here so y'all ease up on me. So thank you, guys.